Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Week 6. Yes, we are. Is this halfway? Almost halfway? How many weeks are there? Technically, the fantasy season.
Halfway to playoffs at the end of the week, or something like that.
Man, it's flown.
Halfway to fantasy playoffs. That is not to.
Yes, fantasy playoffs. I can't believe how fast it's gone.
I mean, it is a short season, so it makes some sense.
It is a shortened season, but it still just feels like it's flown. I don't know why. Just different to other years. It just really feels like we've just flown through things here. But it's been a good week. Thank you for all the cat comments. I love that people are continuing to use the cat emojis. I'm not going to say why people use the cat emojis. We're just going to leave it as a little secret for anybody that didn't listen through on that last weekend preview. They'll never understand what the cat emojis are for. It'll just be a little surprise for everyone. Okay, so let's jump into the week review. So I think the first thing to talk about here, we're recording this Saturday night, is the ice at the Tahoe
the only
game.
thing I had. It's just like
I
feel like we've talked about the situation in Texas quite enough. So I think the only thing left to talk about is watching the game and being like, that is the worst ice I have ever seen in an NHL game.
Well,
for what I mean, it's not by their own fault, but maybe it is because
when I turned on the game, there was my brain didn't really go that direction. It went, wow, those Vegas jerseys are really ugly. That was my first thought. My second thought was, wow, that's a beautiful scene for a game. Like maybe my all-time favorite setup for a game. And then my third was, wow, that ice is god-awful.
My very first thought was, wow, that's bright. And then my second thought was, it's probably not good that it's like super bright. And then my third thought was, it's definitely not good. They're going to cancel this game.
I can confirm that too. Brandon messaged me and was like, wow, it's very bright. Literally, I think pretty sure it was exactly those words that you sent me. I kind of want to scroll up now and find
my next text to you or something was like, wow, the ice is trash or something like that. I think that was like in order.
You literally sent, wow, it looks insanely bright. 30 minutes later, Jesus, the ice is horrible.
Yeah.
I've got the receipts. Okay, so now that we've done the week review, we only had to talk about that outdoor game, which I'm kind of interested to see what it'll look like at night. I feel like it won't really look any different than like...
What if they just don't turn the lights on? Make them play in pitch dark.
You know what they should have done is they should have just had the like a light underneath the arena or like a light up puck, and that's what you got to go by. Is just by the puck. This is why I don't come up with ideas. Let's go into the injury report and have you tell us what's going on.
All right, getting into the injury report. First up, Antti Ranta's hurt. I mean, can't really be an NHL season, even a shortened one, without him getting injured, right? So, day-to-day with an upper body injury. Next one here is David Krejci, day-to-day with a lower body injury. Sean Monahan is day-to-day with a lower body injury. Turbo is day-to-day with an upper body injury. We've got Zach Werenski, who's day-to-day with a lower body injury again. Yeah. They basically said he was coming back, and I don't even know if he played a full game or if he even played a game at all. But he's out again. Rope Hintz is out with a lower body injury. Capo Caco is on the COVID protocol list. Jacob Trouba is 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury. We've got Thomas Chabot day-to-day with an upper body injury. A bunch more Philadelphia players, including Konechny, are on the COVID list now. Erik Karlsson is day-to-day with lower body injury. You have to assume that he had it the whole time, so it can't come as a major surprise. But Sammy Blais is on the COVID protocol. We've got Jaden Schwartz day-to-day with a lower body injury. Colton Parayko is day-to-day with an undisclosed injury. Nico Hischier returned. Cam Talbot returned. Gabriel Landeskog returned, but he's on the third line. It looks like Burakovsky, for the time being, is top line. I don't think that'll last too long. They're probably they don't want to play him. I don't know. I don't know why they did that, but I'm guessing they're giving him a few games to get back in sync. But I can't imagine that he's going to be off that top line for too long. Shea Theodore returned. Artemi Panarin returned. Matt Dumba returned. And lastly, Mackenzie Blackwood returned. And is still good, turns out. That's it for the injury report. Pretty long one, though, all things considered.
Until Blackwood got shelled today.
Yeah, shelled. I mean, he led, what, 3?
Yeah, it wasn't shelled, to be fair. Yeah, to be fair, not exactly shelled. Okay, so let's move into drop candidates. My first one here. People love touching nice things, man. Zach Hyman, 61%. He was good for a little bit there. He is not good enough to be near 61% owned. That's absurd. Absolutely absurd. You can drop him. Streamer is better than Zach Hyman.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not high on Zach Hyman either. My first one is Dylan Strome. If you're still thinking about it for some reason, I was surprised to see he's still 28% owned. His ice time is dipped. There's really nothing redeemable about him. The whole reason that he was picked up in the first place was because he was centering that top line with Patrick Kane and DeBrincat, and he hasn't been for a while, and it seems to have gone to Kurashev and Pius Suter. So he's just kind of out there in the ether doing nothing. And he's always been a guy that if he's not getting you points, he's not getting you much. So that's continued, and he just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. My next one here, UC Saros.
Yeah.
50% owned. We've gotten a lot of questions about, whether he's the real deal, whether what's happening is real or not. And Nashville sucks, especially on defense. So apparently hiring Hines, who was fired from the Devils, was not a good idea. Shock. Insert a Pikachu face. I'm not surprised in the least. But yeah, UC Saros. Pecorine is also struggling, and no. Also, I love that we have while we record live, Patreon members and YouTube members can listen in live, and in the chat, they put in a Pikachu face for me. Thank you very much.
Highly appreciated. My next one here is Jacob Vrana, who is 64% owned still. I am baffled by that. He's left wing only. He hasn't done anything in a long time. He's not getting a lot of ice time. It's nice that he's power play 1, but it hasn't mattered. And I feel like the bullet in the head for him for this season, for me at least, was when Washington had all the COVID problems and he didn't do much. You know, I thought that he would be kind of a Cardinal Garland type. He kind of had that makeup where he was able to put out some shot volume despite getting like 13 minutes a game. And they gave him more minutes, and it didn't really translate. It could be because he was facing tougher competition, pretty likely, considering they didn't really have a top line that didn't involve him at that point. But he's not been impressive, and I can't believe he's still 64% owned. I don't know what people are thinking or expecting.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I feel like we've been here too, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. We talked about Vrana, and we said a lot of the same things. I'm shocked that his ownership is still that high. Another guy here, actually, I'm going to skip this one, save this one for the next one. Next player here, Anthony Mantha, 32% owned. I'm over it. I dropped him.
Yeah.
It's done. I don't even care if he's on the top line with Larkin. Even on the top line with Larkin, they're probably a 50, 55 point pace anyways. They're terrible. There's Mantha's not shooting as much anymore. His minutes are all over the place. He seems to not care really about playing as much. It's just bad. Makes me sad, honestly. He did hit a post. Congrats. He can aim.
Post hitting.
Congrats for post hitting. Unfortunately, that is not a category. Fantrax, please don't make that a category. No, you can drop Mantha securely.
Yeah. My last one here is Christian Dvorak, actually. Center left wing, 53%. He had that string of getting a goal and an assist every other game for a while, and that's kind of gone away. He is getting played a ton of minutes. I understand that, but he has, as I mentioned last time I talked about Dvorak, his line mates just aren't very good, and that's going to be the biggest thing holding him back. He's not really in a position to be scoring a lot of goals or getting a lot of points in general, and I think even if he's playing 20 minutes a game, if he's not in a position to do that, if he's not playing with guys like Garland or at least like Kessler or somebody offensive, he's not going to be able to continue to produce. It sure seems like he's in more of a shutdown role, and I think the points are going to dry. Well, I mean, the points have dried up, but I think if you're looking at his ice time and thinking, that's still there. He still has power play 1, but it still only really equates to like 50% of the power play time, and it's just not enough. And his peripherals have dried up as well. So no need to hold on to him long term anymore. Fun while it lasted.
Yeah. It was a good experiment.
Yep.
Why not? I have two more before we move into long-term targets. So my first one is going to be Kirill Kaprizov, 63% owned. Just his minutes are all over the place. There's no consistency out of him.
Yeah, I had him.
He shoots a lot one game.
Ago, I think, but
yeah, doesn't shoot. I mean, I like him long-term in the sense of I think he's going to be good. I just don't see a reason to hold him right now over a streamer.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. My last person here is going to be Viktor Arvidsson, 49% owned. Goes along with that, just mantra of Nashville sucks right now. And quite frankly, he's not getting anything done. It doesn't really seem like anyone there is getting anything done. The only thing Arvidsson has going for him is shots, and that's it.
But he's also playing third line with like Sissons and Trennan right now, which is not helping either.
Yeah. No, it's not. But I think I don't see him getting that top line at the moment.
I don't even know what the top line is.
Really helps
it's all such a mess right now. Like Luke Kunin and I think Kalle Yarncroke or somebody are up there. I don't even know who the top right wing is. Like it's Forsberg, Kunin, and like Granlund maybe. I don't know. It's just not good.
Also, can we talk about something for a second? I just want to, briefly.
I feel like no is going to be the right answer, but go ahead, I guess.
So I didn't want to bring him up here because I don't want him to be associated with this section, but you know what? Why not? Taylor Hall is not drop candidate, but he played 13 minutes tonight. His line with Stahl and Cousins was effectively the fourth line. He saw no power play time. Last game, he only saw 50% of the power play time. What is going on with Taylor Hall? And of course, they limit his minutes to 13, and he gets an assist finally.
That's how that works.
Makes no sense. That's how it always works, of course. And he shoots 3 shots for the first time in ages.
To be fair, the Sabres only had 1 power play, and they converted quickly. So I'm not sure how far to read into him not getting power play time.
Yeah, no. But I mean, I just don't know what to do with Taylor Hall. I don't know what to tell people about Taylor Hall. He's been so inconsistent this season. It's brutal. I mean, his shooting percentage is only 2.8%.
Oh, he had 30 seconds of the power play, so he was on there when the power play goal happened. He just didn't get in. Or did he?
At least
he may have been. No, he didn't get it
last game he only got 50% of the power play time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about Taylor Hall. Maybe he's a 65-point guy now. Maybe that's who he is.
Maybe.
Who knows what happened when he left the Devils that one year? But he got a 66-point pace last year. And then this year he's on a 59-point pace. So maybe he's a 65, 70-point guy.
Maybe.
If that. I don't know. I mean, anyways, let's move in.
That's kind of what we thought about him previous to that, too. He went through... He had a breakout year in Jersey. And then prior to that, like, he had some good years, but he wasn't consistently like a point-per-game guy or anything.
If I put on my tinfoil hat for a second here.
Oh, no.
Okay. So in 2014, 2015, between 2014... So he was in Edmonton from 2014 and in the 2015 season. Both of those years, he was on a 59-point pace, then a 65-point pace. He goes to the Devils. In his first year in the Devils, he has a 60-point pace. He then puts up that ridiculous heart-winning 100-point season, right? That 100-point pace season, 93 points total. That next season after that, he only plays 33 games. Gets injured in 2018. He was on a 92-point pace. Then he comes back, and he's at a 66-point pace last year. And now he's back at a 59-ish. So I think there's 2 tinfoil hat theories here. One, that's who he always was. He had an anomaly year and an anomaly beginning to the season. Second tinfoil hat theory here is potentially that injury screwed him up. And he's just not the player
Seems like a common theme over these last few years for a bunch of players. For what it's worth.
Yeah. And I mean, he had a pretty brutal injury, if I remember correctly, right? It was his knee?
I think so. Honestly, I don't remember,
so, I mean,
but that sounds right.
It's not like it's a nothing injury, So, I don't know. I just think I have this theory now at this point of, like, maybe we've been expecting Taylor Hall to be this player that he only ever was really once. He did have an 87-point pace season with Edmonton. He got 80 and 75 in 2013. And then after that went right back to his 59, 65, 60-point pace. And then had another anomaly year. And now he's back to that. So maybe that's who he is. Maybe it's time for us to correct kind of our thinking of who Taylor Hall is. But yeah, Anyways, let's move on to long-term targets.
Yep. I'll go ahead and start. I only have 3 for what it's worth, but typically when I do long-term targets, the research I usually do involves like going through and seeing who's kind of hot right now, who's being added typically, and giving, if I agree with that take, then they'll typically wind up here. This time I just went straight up by roster percentage, who's high or who's low owned that I think shouldn't be low owned. And I was surprised at some players. I mean, we've been back and forth on Duclair, but he's only 14%. Yeah. He's not on my list for what it's worth. He's only 14% owned, which I thought is pretty surprising, considering the upside. And he's been good lately, so I don't know. But my first one is his line mate, Carter Verhaeghe, center left wing, 33%. There's the obvious downside that he's not going to get a whole lot of power play points, but he gets a good amount of even strength points, and his peripherals are decent. He's not somebody whose ceiling is super high, but when you see guys like Riley Smith and I mean Vrana is an easy example, are so much more highly owned than he is. I don't understand. Verhaeghe is giving you so much more than those guys are. So he's my first one, although he's probably what I would consider my weakest one, and he's the highest owned. So that's interesting.
Yeah. My first one is going to be a goaltender out of Florida. I have 2 goaltenders this week, actually. One of them is Chris Driedger, 52% owned. I think he's flying a little bit under the radar. And I think what's happening here is people are wondering, is he going to get this starting job? Is he not? Look, the thing is, especially this season, you've got to readjust what you consider a starting job. Because nowadays, pretty much everyone, with the exception of maybe Markstrom, Hellebuck, and Vasilevsky. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody. I think that's pretty much everyone. Jari recently has been Binnington as well. There's a few, very few though. Most of them are more in like a 1A, 1B situation. And that's what Bob seems to have found himself in here. And the same with Driedger. And when I look at guys that are held on other teams that are in 1A, 1B situations, and then people are waiting out on Driedger, I mean, Driedger's been ridiculous. He has a .926 save percentage, .234 goals against average, 7 quality starts in 8 games played. He's playing really well. That Florida team is incredible, too. At 52% own only, I'm shocked that it's that low. And the fact that he's available in my points league is nuts to me. And that's what really made it stand out to me was that, wow, okay, he's still available in leagues out there. So I would definitely be interested in Driedger if he were available and you needed goaltenders. Yeah, I'd take him over Saros.
Yeah, definitely. Or Bob.
Or Bob.
My next one, again, this is decreasing amount of ownership and increasing amount of me being interested in this player. Although I think this player is middle owned and probably the one I'm most interested in is Nick Ritchie, left wing, 25%. Big shooter lately, at least. Gets some hits, gets some pims. Actually, he's a. Again, I've made this comparison a ton of times lately. He plays exactly the same as Patrick Hornquist does. The thing is, I think people are kind of sleeping on the fact that he has essentially locked himself up into that Boston power play. There was a lot of questions that I had when I started, adding and dropping Ritchie when I was streaming him. About, okay, does he stay there when Grzelcyk is healthy? Does he stay there when the power play struggles? Does he stay there when when they play McAvoy? Do they move him out because of handedness or whatever? Does he stay there if they run 5 forwards? Do they do anything weird? Who bumps him? Does he stay there when DeBrusk comes back? Right? DeBrusk was power play 1 last season pretty often. The thing is, all of those situations have happened now, and he has been power play 1 every single time through all of that. Is he guaranteed to be there rest of season? No, but it sure seems like he fits exactly what they need. He fits the mold of the player they're looking for in that position. The butt goal guy, the guy to stand in front of the net and trade cross checks with whoever's going to stand next to him and bang some goals in from point blank. A lot of stuff attempts. That's how. I mean, you wonder how Hornquist gets his 3-4 shots a game. It's stuff attempts. He's not taking like a bunch of wristers from the dots. I mean, occasionally, sure, but mostly he's standing in front of the net and just wailing at it. And that's exactly what Richie's doing. I mean, you see him and he's the type of player that can get like 6-shot games every now and again because of that type of stuff. So Very high on Ritchie. About as high on him as I am on Hornquist. So, which is relatively high, especially as long as Pashynok's on his line, which is going to be short-lived most likely, but still.
I will say the only thing with Ritchie that makes it tough, for me at least, I have Ritchie. I mean, in one of my leagues, I have Richie Marchand and Pasta. I find it hard to play Ritchie. That's my biggest difficulty with him as a suggestion, is that Boston does not have good off nights.
Yeah.
They tend to have pretty bad schedules. And so I find myself more often than not benching Ritchie, even though I want him to be a long-term hold, and I agree that he is. On all my teams, I just haven't been able to find a way where he gets me net better starts. Like, I dropped him.
I think it's just your team, to be fair. Boston has...
Maybe, perhaps.
Boston is tied for the 7th most off nights.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
So maybe, I guess
Anaheim.
it just doesn't work with my team comp.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh, well, I take that back then. I concede my point. Well, in that case, I'm going to move on to my next one. Martin Necas.
Yep.
10%. Now, this isn't in every single league option. This is not, I don't want you to think I need to go rush to grab him. If you're in a 10-person league, he's not viable. This is more for people where if you're looking at 10% guys, this is a guy you want. Honestly, so he's been kind of on the scene for a while now. For a while now, Martin Necas, I drafted him in my Dynasty League, and I've been holding on to him for quite a while because I've always been pretty high on him. He was always kind of prospected to be a pretty good offensive player, and he's fitting right in Carolina. I love that line he's on. It's a legitimate good line. So I'm high on Necas, especially at only 10% owned if you're in a deeper league. Even in a 12%, honestly, he might be worth it when they have a good schedule, but he's someone I think will fly under the radar for a bit longer too, so you don't have to necessarily rush to grab him. You can wait a bit. But in deeper leagues, I definitely would be taking a look at Martin Necas.
Yeah. Speaking of deeper leagues, and this is a player that, again, I'm thinking about other wingers that, especially single eligibility wingers, the Vrana types, right? Left wing only. This player, I was shocked to see that he just moved up 1% from 5 to 6% recently. And that's Alex Iafallo. He is 6% rostered.
Insane.
And he has been quite good lately. Quite good.
How long have we been talking about Iafallo?
I don't know.
I feel like we've been talking about him for a long time this year, saying he's better than Kempe. Or maybe it's just me, but I feel like I've been touting Iafallo for a while now.
Yeah,
but yes,
he's really lately. He's really been amazing though.
Yes.
He hasn't
His
been
minutes
capitalizing
jumped up
on the power play points as much as a lot of the other players around him, but he has been getting some lately, and his shots have been way up from his norm. Points are there. He's above a point per game over the last 6 or 7 games. Yeah, it took him a little while to come around, but over the last couple of weeks, I'm just surprised it hasn't moved a little faster than it has.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So in my keeper league, I'm probably going to end up dropping. I already dropped. I'm probably going to drop Arvidsson, and I'm probably going to end up picking Iafallo up as a replacement for Arvidsson, and I would maybe replace him as well if I were at that point yet with Bjorkstrand. It's just good news out of Iafallo. My last one here, Mike Smith, 46% owned, my other goaltender in Edmonton. He's been good. He's been really good. Surprisingly good. I'm shocked. I do think it's going to be kind of a revolving door there, 1A, 1B situation between Koskinen and Mike Smith, although Mike Smith has been the better of the two. And also a little shout out to Alex Nedeljkovic in Carolina, 3% owned, just shut out the Tampa Bay Lightning. Interesting development
on
there.
a tired Carolina team as well.
On a tired Carolina team. And he's posted some good performance. I mean, his save percentage before this game was .886, .323 goals against average, and only 1 win. So it hadn't been stellar. But since that bad game he had against Columbus, he's been really good. He let in 3 goals against Dallas. Then he had a a 4-3 loss against Florida, and then today shut him out. So Nedeljkovic is interesting. If anything, for the wins. I mean, Carolina is just so good. I think I still like Reimer a little bit more, but to be honest, I'm kind of liking both of them less and less. It seems like they just let in a lot of goals, but they win somehow anyways. So if wins are what matter the most to you, then he is very interesting.
Yeah.
So, with the long-term targets down, let's go into the week preview. And this is a hellish week. I mean, just the worst possible week you could imagine. It is so brutal to find starts. And somehow, in one of my leagues, I was able to get like 65. So, it is possible.
There's a lot
to
of games
get
played,
a lot of starts.
so that's word.
There are. That's exactly the trick. You got to have them in the right spots. So, teams with 2 or less games are going to be Vancouver and Winnipeg. And then teams that play 3 off nights, so it's the Rangers, the only team that have 3 off nights is the Rangers. And then a special shout-out to Buffalo, who has 5 games this upcoming week. 5.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them are off nights, and then the week after they have 4. So Buffalo has a lot of games these next 2 weeks. So pay attention to Buffalo pickups in these next 2 weeks. And then teams with good matchups, in my opinion. Surprisingly, Detroit actually, I think, has pretty good matchups. They have 2 Nashville games and 2 Chicago games. Columbus has that same schedule of 2 Nashville games, 2 Chicago games. And it's not so much that they're good teams. It's just I think those matchups can lead to goals. Dallas has a pretty good schedule. 3 Florida games, 1 Tampa game. Don't love the Tampa game, obviously, but those 3 Florida games, they're going to get Bob in at least one of them. So there's a potential for like 10 goals there. So Dallas is not a bad option. And then lastly, Edmonton has 2 Vancouver games and 1 Toronto game. So a lot of goals probably to be had there. So moving into the short-term targets, my absolute favorite of the week has got to be Sam Reinhart.
Yep,
at 43% owned. Center, right wing, 5 games with that dual eligibility. He added me about 3 starts when I picked him up, and he was surprisingly available in my keeper league.
He
which
can
is
easily
sharp
add
normally.
you. Yeah, well, probably not more than 3, but
he could add you a lot, though. There's a lot of, and you got to remember too, actually, that now with the, I think it's the Florida Dallas game is postponed on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's a semi-heavy day, and that Florida Dallas game might open up spots for you. So definitely pay attention to that because that is what helped me out in making this ad. I was like, yep, that's it. I can do it. That gives me ads now. So Sam Reinhart, for sure, by far, I think the best pickup of the week.
yeah.
As
Winnipeg
far as
is,
like
man,
maximizing starts. Oof.
not a good week to have your Wheelers, your
No.
Ehlers, your Scheifeleys, because not only do they only have 2 games, they're on the heaviest nights. It's not good.
Your Wheelers and Ehlers.
Your Wheelers and Ehlers. We made that.
You do that on purpose.
The Wheelers line. Wheelers.
The Wheelers line.
But I remember it sounding differently, but I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know. I thought you were going to come up with like some continuation of that joke and do like, Prancer and Dancer.
I won't ever do that.
Okay. Okay.
My next one is a 2% owned Jesper Bratt. He is playing top line, top power play at the moment. He's been doing pretty well lately, actually, and actually shooting, which I don't know if that'll keep up. But he's more of a deep league grab. He's not somebody I would grab unless you're looking at guys that are, sub 5% owned. But he gets, on the off night of Tuesday, a tired Buffalo team, which should just be fun. And then Buffalo again, and then Washington, and then a sludge match against Washington on Sunday where they're both tired. So not a bad lineup for him. It all kind of matters if you can fit him in on Thursday or not. Otherwise, you basically only have him for Tuesday and Sunday. But he's an option at the very least. That is low owned.
My next one is Pavel Buchnevich from the Rangers, 20% owned. Pretty easy one. Whenever the Rangers have off nights, right wing. Sucks that he only has 1 positional eligibility, but the Rangers have 3 off nights.
Yeah, so
he'll definitely be able to fit him in. Yeah, and he finally got the monkey off his back. He even did the whole celebration, taking the monkey off his back. So I think he's back. I think I think the Rangers are back in general. I think they're gonna make a run. To last place.
For last place, yes. I've got 3 options on LA. They kind of two of them fit similar molds, and the last one fits kind of a different mold. So Iafallo, I'm just going to put him on here as well because even if he's not a long-term hold for you, he can be a short-term one this week, especially if you're looking for starts on Wednesday and Friday. You know, say you've got, you know, a Tuesday player that you swap for Wednesday and Friday and then swap again. This is a great option to do that. There's a couple of teams that have that schedule, but I think LA has a lot of options for that. So Iafallo's one. Kempe, who is center, left wing, right wing, 14%, is another one. Shooting a lot, getting a lot of power play points. He's getting it done lately. And then lastly is Jeff Carter, center, left wing, right wing, 10%. He's also getting it done lately. Not quite to the effect of the others for the point perspective, but he shoots a lot more. Although they've all been shooting. Honestly, LA has been pretty decent lately for whatever reason, at least offensively.
Yeah. I think they're on a 3 or 4 game win streak now.
Yeah. And yeah.
Something like that.
Carter, if Carter was power play 1, he would be pretty interesting in like longer term. I actually have him in there's a league that we're in that holds 300 players, and I've rostered Carter all season, and he's just a nice floor guy because he always shoots at least.
Yeah. Okay, we've been burned in the past by this player.
Uh-oh.
He has come onto the scene before, and we've ignored him. And we called him unsustainable, and he just kept on putting up points.
I don't know who you're going to say.
And it made no sense. Will Butcher.
Will Butcher? Oh, no.
1%.
That is not who I was expecting you to say.
Did you think I was going to say Nick Schmaltz?
Yes.
No. Nick Schmaltz is an interesting option long-term, though. But no, Will Butcher. He makes no sense, okay? Will Butcher makes absolutely zero sense. He finally came back. He hadn't played a game in, I think, a year and a half or something. And he comes back, scores a goal in his first game. And then he gets a point tonight. Playing on the third line. The third pairing. Getting 17 minutes or whatever it was. Will Butcher now he got 15 minutes time. Will Butcher is the biggest anomaly in the universe. 3 games played, 3 points.
Yep.
All while getting no power play time whatsoever. All on the third pairing. And, like, no peripherals. To be fair, he actually is shooting a little bit more this year. He makes zero sense. This is like the biggest YOLO ever. Just jump into Will Butcher. You'll probably get points because it doesn't make any sense. It's like Tesla in the stock market. It just goes up. I don't know why.
I
can't tell you why.
Market.
No, this makes perfect sense. It's just, for people who get it, it's the same thing as Tesla. It makes no sense. Why? I don't know. Or Bitcoin. I don't care. Use it whatever you want. That like just skyrockets for no reason. That's Will Butcher. It makes no sense, but the dude just gets points. So I'm not saying to go pick up Will Butcher. I actually kind of maybe like PK Subban a little bit more on that second power play unit and third pairing, but Will Butcher to me is like the biggest gamble if you're just like in a straight points league. Why not? We've seen this before. And let me tell you, Will Butcher has 3 points in 3 games. You know how many Ty Smith has in his recent games? None. So I wouldn't think it's that crazy. It's 3 games now. And since Will Butcher came back, okay, he has 3 points in 3 games. Ty Smith has no points in 3 games. I'm not saying they're correlated, but maybe they are. Maybe Will Butcher gets a look on that top power play because crazier things have happened. I don't know. I'm just putting him on your radar at 1% because we've been burned before, and I don't want to get burned again. So, Will Butcher to the moon. 1%. I can't believe we're talking about Will Butcher.
Okay.
You're this floored, huh?
I don't have anything else, and I want this to end.
Well, fitting way to end with Will Butcher. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you for Unsustainable on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening.